Welcome, my friends, to our Domain 2 video. We are going to talk about the second domain for the ACP exam. Now, if you've read through the initial handout, what you're going to realize is that Domain 2 is a beast. It's huge. Domain 2 is called Value-Driven Delivery. But what exactly is in it? Well, there are four sections in Domain 2. The first section, and I'm going to point to these with my clicker so that you're tracking. Right here, we have define positive value. The second section is avoid potential downsides. The third section is prioritization. And the fourth section is incremental development. Now, all these topics are tied to the overarching mindset of value. So let's begin to explore them one by one. The first one is define positive value. So in task one, we define the deliverables by identifying units that can be produced incrementally. It's asking the question, can this be broken down in increments? And if so, making sure that is the way you proceed. Task two, refine requirements by gaining consensus on the acceptance criteria for features on a just-in-time basis. And all this is saying is you don't set off with all the acceptance criteria defined. It has to be evolved as you go through the different sprints. Think about the three C's. We have the card, the conversation, the confirmation when it comes to a user story. Well, the confirmation is the acceptance criteria, but that evolves as you go through various layers of backlog refinement, the different sprints, going through sprint planning each sprint. That is how these things become more solid and emerge. Now, we're not talking about the definition of done because that is very different and that is more overarching and far-reaching and pertains to increments. This, on the other hand, is about stories. Task three, select and tailor the team's process based on project and organizational characteristics, as well as team experience in order to optimize value delivery. And all we're saying here is you got to tailor your process to the unique circumstance. The next section is avoid potential downsides. Here is the summary of all of this, and I'm going to highlight things on the screen just to keep you laser focused. Plan for small releasable increments. Limit increment size. Increase review frequency. And solicit customer and user feedback by reviewing increments often. Taking a look at these three, you can see they almost are repeats. And the reason is they are a common theme. The common theme in the world of Agile is small releases, frequent feedback, customer feedback. You want to get this in front of the customer as quickly as possible so that you can receive feedback. That is the second piece in this value-driven delivery domain. Next, we have prioritization, and we're going to be done here very quickly. We have three tasks, and as usual, you can see the commonalities. The commonalities here are you got to prioritize the units of work. Do you remember what we call the product owner? The product owner is the chief value officer. So the product owner is that person who is belly button accountable for prioritization. Take a look at this. Perform frequent review and maintenance of the work results. What do you think they're talking about here? We're talking about internal quality so that team members are on top of what they're doing. They are able to prioritize what needs to be done, but not just that, they check it and integrate it to ensure that the project or process moves smoothly and cohesively. Lastly, we have continuously identify and prioritize. This is chiefly the product owner's responsibility. And the main thing is we're trying to improve the quality and value of the deliverables. You see that common theme, quality. Quality is fitness for use, conformance to requirements, and customer satisfaction, but it's also doing the appropriate things at the appropriate time. So if you're working on features that are really not needed now, that's not quality. And that's what we're trying to sensitize the test takers to in prioritization. You got to prioritize as a product owner. You also prioritize as a developer. You take a look at what needs to be done, and based on your prioritization individually, you go for it. Let's move on to the last section called incremental development. Incremental development, task 10, conduct operational reviews and or periodic checkpoints with stakeholders. Now, you already know what that's talking about. That's talking about the sprint review. Task 11, balance development of deliverable units and, watch this, risk reduction efforts. What are we talking about, risk reduction efforts? Well, we're talking about incorporating not only value, but risk reduction into the backlog. What do we mean by risk reduction? Well, by risk reduction, we're talking about the concept of a risk-adjusted backlog where certain risk mechanisms are embedded into the backlog so you intentionally take action. And we're talking about mitigation, it could be risk avoidance, it could be anything to do with those 5 approaches to risk that we talk about. Remember the 5 things: A-team, avoid, transfer, escalate, accept, mitigate. Any of those actions could be in your backlog. Number 12, reprioritize requirements periodically in order to reflect changes. You see that word again? Reprioritize periodically. And what we're talking about here is incremental development. So the product backlog evolves, right? So we got to reprioritize it because new items that may supersede others are going to come in, and this is a job of the product owner. Number 13, elicit and prioritize relevant non-functional requirements. Operations, security, these things are important, and we need to be thinking about them all the time. Finally, we get to task 14, and this says conduct frequent reviews. Again, it's like a repeat. We're talking about inspections, reviews, testing that we do at the team level. This is not talking about the sprint review alone. It could be part of it, but we're talking about the continuous integration, the continuous testing, and really it's the continuous improvement, the Kaizen mindset. So my friends, for those of you who have not been on these calls before for this exam, we are finalizing a second domain, and it's under the PMI-ACP Masterclass umbrella. A lot of you have gotten PMP certified, and you're wondering, what am I going to do next, Phil? I'm bored. Well, it's not really a question of being bored. It's a question of taking your career to the next level. And Agile, like I always say, is here to stay. It's been proven time and time again in a lot of surveys that Agile is the way forward. And that's why for those of you who come for our training, you know we always start everything off with Agile. So this is really a welcome to the world of Agile Domain 2, okay? Some of you want to take the ACP exam, but you don't know where to start, and you find yourself watching this video. Well, I want to give you a call to action to help you. And I would say go on down to our website. It's Praizion.com. When you get to Praizion.com, you want to look for our training for the ACP on demand, because you really should get started tonight. So just click on that link when you go in there, sign up for our ACP Masterclass, and you can begin your 90-day journey today. And with my buddy Roy and I, who you see in this video, we will guide you in our on-demand class to ACP success as we have many other students. So again, thank you for joining. And that's all for Domain 2. Remember, Domain 2 is all about value. It's the biggest area on your exam. And that's all for now. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.